Oh, hello and welcome. My name is Thomas Jalen, and we're going to be talking about the business and finance CTE requirements and how they fit into the statewide framework. So we're going to start with that there are different standards. First, we have the CTE Model Curriculum Standards, which are kind of the overarching umbrella of the CTE program. Which below that there is the California Standard for Career Ready Practice, which is related to the anchor standards, which are themselves related to the Common Core standards for the other subjects in the state's education system. And then below that, each individual industry has their own pathways for different areas of business. Like in this case, it's business, but this works for woodworking, home economics, transportation, various pathways across 15 different industries. So the anchor standards are one, academics, two, communications, career planning and management, four is technology, problem solving and critical thinking, six is health and safety, seven is responsibility and flexibility, then it's ethics and legal responsibilities, leadership and teamwork, 10 is technical knowledge and skills, and then finally the 11th one is demonstration and application. And all of these within the basic CTE program have their corresponding standards that link Common Core with the CTE model curriculum. And we are going to get into these, which is the California Standards for Career Ready Practice is these. So the first one being is applying appropriate technical skills and academic knowledge. Two is learning how to communicate effectively, clearly, and with reason. Three is developing an education and career plan aligned with the student's personal goals. Number four is apply technology to enhance productivity. Number three is utilize critical thinking to make sense of problems and persevere in solving them. Number six is practice personal health and understanding financial literacy. Number seven is act as a responsible citizen in the workplace and the community. Eight, model integrity, ethical leadership, and effective management. Number nine, work productively in teams while integrating cultural and global competence. 11, employ valid and reliable research strategies. And then 12, there's extra ones, at least in this case for business, which is understanding the environmental, social, and economic impacts of decisions. This is, I believe, here because social responsibility is a huge part of business these days due to all the ongoing problems and people's opinions about them. So we're going to look at one of these anchor standards in depth, and which is how the Common Core relates to the CTE education. We're going to be looking at standard 3.1, which is identify personal interests, aptitudes, and skills necessary for an informed career decision making. So what this means is basically the students have to think about what they're doing in their future, potential career paths, what they like and don't like, and start planning out what they want to do through the course of high school and then after. So the first thing I would have them do is, as at least one activity would be to have thinking about what kind of interests they have, what kind of plans they have for their future, and then start thinking about that, and then taking a career aptitude test to see where there is overlap, see where there might be skills or things they didn't necessarily think about, and where those are. And after that, I'd have the students research careers in the fields that they might have some interest in or some aptitude in, and give a presentation or write a paper about whether or not they like some of the jobs in their field and if they could see themselves doing it. So in the business and finance umbrella, there are three separate pathways. There's business management, financial service, and international business, which is, how to run and operate a business. Financial services like banking, international business like trading and doing sales overseas. These there is a huge amount of detail, and it's kind of hard to cram this into a 5-ish minute presentation. So unfortunately, I can't go into any amount of detail with them. So we're going to look at one of the business pathway standards. This is the under business management, and it's standard A5.6, which is to create and use budgets to guide financial decision making. I chose this standard because I actually had to work with it in a different class, and I had to design a web quest, and I used this standard to go off of. And the web quest involved evaluating passenger rail services in the context of the Great Depression and having a capital budget and other information to plan out what they would do given what was going on, and there was also some historical context provided. And overall, they just had to make a budget and justify it, which would have been the whole point of it. And then the second part, which I believe is going to relate into the next standard, would be to have a simulation where the groups, because this would be a group assignment, not an individual one, where they would compete against the other groups in a simulation through procuring and trying to like negotiate like sales and whatnot, and just putting the plan into practice. And how this relates to the alignment matrix, which is where various parts of the CTE standards are aligned directly with Common Core state standards, is on 11.1, which is the writing standards, which is relating to A 8.0 and the subsequent standards, and an A 9.0 and their subsequent standards, which is writing arguments to support claims in an analysis of substantive topics or text using valid reasoning and relevant and sufficient evidence. Part of the web quest was to justify their decisions, explain why they would do it, show with the evidence they have at their disposal to just justify it, present it, and then simulate it. And I do believe, if I remember correctly, A 8.0 and 9.0 also deal a little bit with logistics and procurement, so that's where that would work into and how these would align. So the reflections I have on looking through this is, I'm going to be honest and say I've already kind of looked through these in past classes, so this isn't 100% new to me. The part that is new is actually looking through some of the matrix and seeing how these relate to Common Core. And then I did try to look into the Common Core state standards, and the thing that I have to say that I found most surprising is that they're not necessarily, like when they're referencing, not all the reference codes and numbers actually kind of match. So when I tried to find 11.1 under writing, I couldn't find it at all. That could just be me having a hard time looking through it because the standards are very long and dense, or they might not be as organized as they should be. And either of those options wouldn't surprise me, because the one thing I have learned in this class is things are not as organized in the state as I am used to through my experience going through education in Nevada, at least high school. So I'm not entirely sure if there's just, I missed them somehow while looking through the Common Core state standards guidelines, or is the reference system not the same? And there's just, I don't know. I could never have found them even if I had tried, or since I've never really looked through them and don't understand the like schema of how that's organized, I just would have been lost anyways. So that's just going to be where my reflections are, and I'm going to just end it there.